What I'm worried about at this point is that it's the connection between the lower pond and the upper pond, and not looking forward to having that.
Hi, Mike Wade.
Yeah.
What's necessary.
Sure, 7 o'clock. The work session, I know your published agenda said we're going to start with a moment of reflection and pledge and a roll call, but for the work session, we don't typically do that unless there's a need to vote, which I don't think there's any voting planned for tonight. So we're going to move right along. Are there any additions, changes need to be made to the agenda? No? Good. Is there any public participation? Anyone in the public who would like to speak? You can check the. So, look who's here.
Hello?
You know the drill, Tammy? Your name?
I
and
do. I'm old hat, huh? Tammy Curry, White Township, McLean Road. I'd like to start by saying something that I didn't get time to say it during the last meeting, and that is that I myself am a medical marijuana card holder, and it was issued to me by the state of Pennsylvania by a state certified physician. When these cards are issued, you agree to the laws of the state of PA. I follow these laws. I don't use the products frequently or habitually, only as needed, but I certainly do not use the products outside of my home, as it's a violation of the law. On election day, I stood at Trinity Methodist Church and witnessed a young man working for two candidates vaping all day long. He confirmed he was when he was asked, and he did it in kind of a smug manner because he said it was legal. It is not. And not only did he violate state marijuana, medical marijuana laws, he did so in a drug-free zone. I don't care what anybody does in their own home. I really don't. But if anybody thinks that this won't continue, or that others not issued a medical marijuana card feel entitled to do so if decriminalized, they're wrong. It will open the door for public consumption. Churches, synagogues, playgrounds, sports fields, daycare, etc., are all drug-free zones if you're not aware. So your carve-out needs to take all those places into consideration too. And it's been brought up that they're so concerned about IUP students and their visitors. But if that's the case, then why don't you go speak to President Driscoll about decriminalization on IUP property only then? And perhaps you ought to take a look at the fact that even legalization in the state of PA will be for those age 21 or older and won't include young teens, as has been stated with regards to your proposed ordinance. So I really think that you really need to take a long look at this, do a lot more research, but also maybe pay attention to issues that are more pressing in the borough. Thank you.
Thank you. There is no proposed ordinance at the moment. But is there anyone else? No more hands are raised. No one in the public. Okay. Then do we need an executive session that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Now it's time for the police department presentation. Justin?
Mr. President, thank you. Members of council, you have in front of you today a booklet titled Perseverance with Honor 2021 Year in Review for the Police Department. And on the cover of our year in review is Jenny Lenhart. She is the strongest among us, and she demonstrates an incredible amount of resolve and perseverance on a daily basis. After caring for everyone within Indiana Borough for the past 17 years, she retired from IBPD in August to focus on herself and her family. 2021, as titled, was a year of perseverance for your police department. Officers faced leadership challenges, community safety risks, personal safety risks, health concerns, divided community views on policing, and traumas of each day, all while focusing on delivering positive community impacts, increasing their training and personal growth, volunteering and donating to community causes, and handling 9,000 plus police activities 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year. So inside the packet, walking through on page 3 is the mission statement of the Indiana Borough Police Department. Our mission statement is often spoken about in the police department, and it guides everything that we do. The Indiana Borough Police Department exists to enhance the quality of life of our citizens. We are committed to providing the highest levels of service while focusing on peace, safety, and comfort. And our actions are guided by the core values of honor, integrity, and respect for all. On page 4 and page 5 and 6, we have the organizational chart of the police department. Certainly, you can go through this document on your own, and I hope that you do. These packets in front of you are for your own take home. There's nothing within these packets that is proprietary. So in 2021, our police department structure was Mayor Joseph Tremarky, myself as chief. We had an administrative assistant, and we were able to promote a lieutenant on November 18th. And also, we were able to bring our Comfort Canine Axel on board, who is in the audience today with his handler, Sergeant Jeffrey Hogue. So if you would, moving forward, our chain of command, we've explained it on the following pages. So if you have any question about what a specific rank does, the responsibilities of an officer, or who's fulfilling those roles in each rank, those are on pages 4 through 6. A few department photographs exist on page 7, along with the staffing history. Borough Police Department are as compassionate as they are brave. I try to constantly praise their great work, but praise isn't given to them often enough for the quality of work that they perform, and I mean that very sincerely. That being said, their positive impacts are being recognized by our community, and in those moments serve as a reminder to all officers that the potential for daily impact can't be minimalized. So I sincerely thank all the community members who took time to recognize officers' efforts, and those efforts are recognized on page 8 through 12 of your packet. Pages 13 to 27 document the training efforts of your police department. Training is an essential part of our professional police effort that has to be given considerable attention in both budgeting and practice. No community can better protect itself from liability or prepare its officers for public safety successes than to support and engage in a comprehensive training program. We have a very robust training program. I'm very proud of the effort of officers. Not only is training, not only are certain training efforts expected of all officers, but officers do take the time on their own to pursue other training opportunities to enhance their professional abilities. And as I'm certain you will see in those following pages as you review, all officers within the police department are taking that responsibility both on their own and advantage of the department. We also, a good deal, we also have a training partnership with Dr. Abigail Adams of IUP. She's a cultural anthropologist. We take that very seriously. We meet as a department twice a year. Had an opportunity to write about that experience in a couple of professional journals. I added that only just for your knowledge. So again, I'm very proud of the training effort of all officers of the police department. I'm certain that they're representing us well in those efforts. Recruitment on page 27. Our recruitment effort for 2021 culminated in 29 applications for employment being received. Through the civil service process, we concluded our effort with a list of 7 high caliber candidates for potential future employment. I just want council to know in regard to recruitment efforts that we're committed to delivering Indiana Borough high character, high integrity police officers. I know that Indiana Borough will benefit from a diverse police department, and I'll continue pursuing new paths for recruitment capable of delivering the broadest possible applicant pool of high character and high integrity people. Page 28 is a brief background. Police department hiring practices are guided by Indiana Borough Civil Service Commission. Civil Service Commission comprises of 3 members, and it is through the Civil Service Commission that oversight of our hiring and promotional processes take place. Indiana Borough is a community of special events, and moving forward on page 29, you will see that from March through November, in addition to answering calls for service, members of your police department planned, prepared, and with our partners, and it's important to draw out with our partners, achieve public safety success at 11 large regional gatherings sponsored in downtown Indiana. Our special events and celebratory weekends cannot be successful without our partners. And by partners, I mean Public Works, parking, code, borough administration. I also mean fire department, citizens ambulance, and assisting police departments from other locations. The events in Indiana Borough, they're large and dynamic and exciting, and public safety is paramount. And so this is in your packet, you'll see, and certainly you can read on your own, these events and a little bit about what's involved in planning for those events. IUP, well, correction, St. Patrick's Day weekend celebrated as a celebratory weekend that focuses a great deal of attention on Indiana Borough, both in the past and current. Also, IUP Homecoming is an event that requires an inordinate amount of activity. Moving forward on page 32 are our calls for service. Calls for service for 2021 are documented against calls for service in 2020 and 2019. Our calls for service are listed by type. That typing is for Indiana Borough records. So the type of call will not speak exactly to how we handled that call, or perhaps how the call ended up, but that's how the call was generally categorized. More comparable, and certainly I encourage you to take a look at all these calls. Our 2021 statistics, I believe, are more comparable to our 2019 statistics than they are our 2021 statistics, which makes sense because year 2020, we were all inside, we were engaging differently as a police department, we were having fewer contacts in certain regards than others. Regardless, 9,398 calls for service were answered by members of your police department. That's down from 2020, and it is on par with 2019. Included in our daily activities on page 34 are proactive community safety efforts. Our proactive community safety efforts as a department are school patrols, house of worship patrols, responses to hate, business security, and our Comfort Canine program. Our enhanced school patrols provide 24-hour safety checks of all of the Indiana Borough schools. Officers also appear inside of our schools randomly throughout the day, engaging with students. We do this when school's in session, when school's out of session, in the middle of the night, in the early morning. We also have officers who take their role at school drop-off and pickup very seriously. So there are often police cars in the area of the Indiana Borough schools during those times. House of worship patrols became very important. There's a typo in House of worship patrols I'd like to draw everybody's attention to. It appears at the very bottom under House of worship patrols that we've done 2,475. That's not correct. The correct number is 247. I apologize for not catching that before tonight. House of worship patrols are our effort to bring comfort and safety to our community by randomly and coordinatingly arriving at churches, houses of worship, where that type of service is taking place. Our hate responses and reporting in mid-2019, we experienced an incident of hate in Indiana Borough that created an opportunity for us to categorize some of the investigations that we were handling as hate as opposed to other criminal activity. It also gives us the ability to specifically draw those investigations out so that our community is most aware of what's going on. So in 2021, we handled 7 incidents that were categorized or recorded as hate-based. That doesn't mean that they were ethnic intimidation or rose to the level of ethnic intimidation, but certainly they were more than a standard criminal mischief or disorderly conduct. Our business security checks in 2020 were more heavily conducted than they were in 2021. 2021, we were able to conduct 952 business security checks. Business security checks are meant to be very detailed inspections of properties that are closed. Now in 2020, that was more important because we had our businesses closed for a period of time due to COVID. So we were concerned at that time about businesses being targeted because they were closed. Because we're no longer in that situation, because our calls for service and other categories are rising, it's inconceivable for us with the staff that we have to continue the business security checks at a level that bring the same amount of impact. So I would anticipate this, we did see in 2021, that number decrease from 2020. I anticipate that number further decreasing, significantly decreasing in 2022, assuming that our more routine activities are able to come back and our residents and business owners are more fully functioning in a way that they were in 2019. And our Comfort Canine program, at this point in time, I'm going to ask Sergeant Hogue to bring Axel up. Our Comfort Canine program was brought to fruition in March, and with these goals. Number one, delivering comfort to victims of crime and trauma, stress and anxiety, and anyone whose circumstance could be elevated by positive impact. And two, to engage more frequently and positively with the community that we serve. It's only because of a partnership with District Attorney Robert Manzi, the support of Indiana Borough Council, and community donations that the program is possible. On December 21st, Axel was administered his oath of office at a presentation at the Indiana Junior High School. Axel was a certified canine good citizen at this point in time, which is an enormous training milestone. So congratulations to Sergeant Hogue and to Axel for that. Axel is, by all accounts, being well received, not only in the community, but within the police department. And as Sergeant Hogue said, and I don't want to put him on the spot, certainly I'll open it up if he has anything that he wants to say, but you know, and a dog with the purpose that Axel has, it allows us to engage, and it allows us people to engage with us with heart instead of perhaps with what's on their mind. So it's a bit disarming, which is very positive. It makes everyone a little more settled. Sergeant Hogue will tell you in the schools, people are more than inclined to come up, students are more than inclined to come up and visit with Axel in the schools, which is also positive. Sergeant Hogue, I don't want to put you on the spot. I didn't ask you to speak, but is there anything you'd like to say on behalf of the program?
Program, it's one of a kind, especially for the area, and it's been a pleasure to, you know, work in this program, and we're sort of, you know,
We're pioneering.
yeah, we're pioneering. So I mean, Axel's a tremendous asset is in our schools. Typically, when officers, in my experience, we walk to the schools, the kids look at you and they don't like make direct eye contact and they walk right past you. And now Axel's like, I got mobs of kids coming around.
Yeah.
To the point that I almost feel like maybe disruptive, but I think everybody really loves it and enjoys it. And there's usually 3 guys on my squad, and this last week I brought them into schools with me, sort of experience what it's like, you know, when you have the dog with you with Axel, and they loved it, and schools they just really enjoy it. So really the first major impact we're seeing is definitely in the schools. So yeah. And then once the weather gets nice, we're looking forward to being downtown and being more exposed that way.
Well, he said I had one minute.
He's making his way.
So, Sergeant Hogue, couldn't be more appreciative. Couldn't be more appreciative of Sergeant Hogue. The program can't be successful without him. He is its heartbeat. He is its leader. He's the one who picks and chooses where Axel is most appropriate, where he can bring value. It's exciting. It's enjoyable for us to lead in this way, and it adds a component to our public safety mission, because our mission is peace, safety, and comfort. And community comfort is a significant part of what we do and delivering comfort. And Axel's probably better than anyone that I could hope to have delivering comfort, not only to kids, but victims of crime. And so.
Question about him. So at a glance, how would the public know the difference between him and a drug seeking dog, for example?
I get that question all the time. They're like, what kind of dog is your drug dog? Like, is he fighting dog? I'm like, none of the above. He's our community engagement PR tool. And people were like, wow, that's really awesome. Never heard of it. So, you know, basically just his expertise is being friendly and obedient. So it's a lot of work. It sounds more simple. It was a lot of work to get him to where we're at right now. But it's really paying off. So.
I didn't know if there was some sort of visual cue or something, because some dogs you're not supposed to necessarily approach. And
Where, oh my gosh, can I pet him? I'm like, absolutely, that's what he's here for. So
Our car.
the car.
yeah, and our car too. Our car is labeled typically like a normal police canine car will say like caution canine, keep back or stay back. Ours is labeled comfort canine, ask the pet. So we want people to be able to approach us and, not be in fear and, sort of open.
There's a little bit of word about him specifically.
What's that?
You're spreading the word about him specifically. People recognize him and a few different visual cues on the car that allows people to kind of know a little bit.
Right. And then what's great too is they look like trees.
Oh, yeah.
To help sort of explain our mission. If anyone's in there, I don't think I have one for everybody, so I don't want to single anybody out, but I have, okay, I have a whole stack upstairs too, but that's helpful too. And it sort of looks like a baseball card. So that I hate to keep going back to the kids, but the kids really just, they love it. So.
Why don't we just pass them down and I'll get you one, sir, so we can just.
And then where he's a tremendous asset too is not only externally, but internally, the officers love it. But it's shift change, everyone's like, Axel, 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 and they're playing with him and petting him, and, they start sort of fighting amongst themselves, like, he likes me more, no, he likes me more. And it's funny, it's an icebreaker for all of us, man. It's really great.
Uh-huh.
Not take personally the fact that I'm taking pictures rather than reading them.
Oh, no, you don't mind, you don't mind.
Axel also has a special badge. So if you get a chance to take a look at the badge on his collar, it also identifies him as a comfort canine. So we're just hoping to spread the word, like his support. He's community funded, which is an excellent part of the program. We thrive on donations for his dog bones and for the program and for the things that outfitted our cruisers and his office at the police department. And you'll see some of those community donations on the next few pages. But so on page 37, well, actually, I think we're on page 36. So with the same heart that officers are committed to community, peace, safety, and comfort with the programs that we've rolled out, we also, I as chief and you as council and us as a community must be committed to officers' peace, safety, and comfort as well. And so last year in the department, with your support, we were able to advance our officer wellness platform to include not only Axel, but expanded roll call training topics. We were able to provide mental health and COVID mitigation topics as part of our partnership with Dr. Adams. We made family flu shots more accessible for our officers in partnership with Salzburg Pharmacy. And we also have a chaplain program that we've continued. So very excited about that. Upcoming and started in 2021, soon to be in 2022 is a fitness center made possible by a substantial community donation from a retired and now deceased police officer's family. So incredible donation. Phil Jablonski served the Indiana Borough community as a police officer from 1965 to 1997. And his family gave, again, a sizable donation for officer fitness, which we're turning into an area where they can engage in fitness. More to come on that, I'm certain, in 2022. Page 37 brings your attention to a crash reduction initiative. What I will say about our crash reduction initiative is that in 2018 and 2019, we experienced a level of success reducing crashes in Indiana Borough. In 2020 and 2021, that program was muted again because of the COVID environment that we found ourselves. In 2022, we're reinstituting this crash initiative to keep our traffic crashes within the borough at a reduction, which is an important effort. I'm certain that I'll be able to highlight that more as we get through the year. Community donations, I spoke about this on page 38, but there were a lot of supporters, not only to Axel, but to the police department in various ways. I'm not going to read every name out loud, but our friends in the press and all council members do have those names. And again, I just want to highlight how appreciative we are as a police department. I am as chief, but our community has been able to support some of the efforts that we've had in a way that's sustainable. The last two pages, one contains a chief's message and forward moving focus, and the last page is a letter from Mayor Tremarky. Specifically for me, I just truly appreciate your support. It's only with your trust and support that we can continue providing everyone that calls Indiana Borough home with peace, safety, and comfort. And I'm always humbled and honored to serve, not only serve the community, but to serve the officers in your police department. They are the heartbeat. They keep everyone safe. I'm just privileged to be a small part. And in 2022, our forward-moving focuses, which are very important, we're working towards ways to enhance community wellness and support. You should expect us to continue working towards increased officer and employee safety and wellness. We're going to continue our personal and professional growth efforts. We're going to enhance recruitment as best that we can. And we're going to increase technology that best meets tomorrow's needs with this, in line with being good stewards of the funds that Indiana Borough has available for the police department. As always, I ended my letter with this, and this is certainly worthy of highlighting. We will be relentless in seeking positive impacts and proactively protecting everyone within Indiana Borough in both traditional and non-traditional ways. And Mayor Tremarky's letter will allow serve itself. So I thank you for allowing me the opportunity to give you that overview. I realize that there's a lot of information in front of you. This isn't the last time that I would be available to answer any question on the topic. And so I will stop speaking at the moment. But if there are any questions that develop publicly or privately, please let me know and I'll do my best to get them answered.
I'm looking at you have the different, it's on page 10 specifically, happens to be the page I'm looking at. You have different patrolmen listed on this page. I noticed a letter of appreciation and support. So if someone in our community were to send in a letter, is that what that is? Okay, so if someone had a positive interaction with a police officer, we should encourage them to send that in, because obviously that makes it, I mean, that just made it in your review. So obviously that makes a difference, right? And it helps.
It makes a tremendous difference. Thank you for drawing that out, because I wouldn't have otherwise thought to speak on it. So when we get a letter from the community in support of a police effort, we bring it the following month to Public Safety Committee. It's always on the Public Safety Committee agenda. It's from the Public Safety Committee agendas that I create the year-end review in regards to commendations and recommendations, and training efforts are logged also. But yes, so it's always appreciated to get feedback, both positive and critical. But certainly, please encourage anyone you know, if they have a positive interaction with the police department and they want to draw it to the attention of my office and Borough Council, that it's always welcome. It's always appreciated, and it serves to boost officer morale, which is always important in everyone's good effort daily. So
The officer as well.
it reflects very positively, because
You see that from the community, right? That could affect careers, honestly.
Absolutely.
So it's a good way to promote them.
The letter also ends up in a personnel file, so it's a permanent recording of a positive interaction.
Nice. Thank you. Sorry, because I'm one of the statistics. The short answer, because I can't find my page anymore, was there here we go. For example, I noticed you said basically, not that 2020 isn't important but you think there's a more direct correlation to 2019 to 2021.
Yes.
And so for some of these statistics, for example, the drug overdoses is a dramatic percentage higher. And for things like that, I mean, you guys are being called, like, if you look at request officers, I mean, you're exponentially higher. So I guess want to.
So specifically, to answer that question, yes, drug overdoses in 2020 and 2021, they're rising. There's not a direct correlation. And so I didn't mean to be overly broad or general. There are some categories that we see in 2020 and 2021 because of the environment that we're in that are escalating.
I guess I was simply more actually, what I was specifically trying to ask was, obviously in some of these categories, the statistics aren't moving necessarily in the positive. And my question is there something that as a council we would help you with, right? Drug overdoses are a blight on the community, right? So that's what I'm asking. Obviously, some of these are moving in very positive directions. Some of these are things outside necessarily the police. Like, you can't control how many times someone picks up the phone and calls you, right? Well, then, but it does ask the question, do you have enough manpower? Do you have enough support? Do you have enough, right? So I guess a little bit of that, and I don't need to be specific on it, just big picture, I guess.
Again, I don't know that I would be as well prepared today to answer that question, but if you allow me to leave the door open, I gladly will bring things to council. My general thought on that topic is, number one, complete appreciation for the question you just asked, because I'm extremely grateful that you would ask that question. And, there are ways that council can plug in positively for the police department. There are ways, as far as overdoses go, that we can get some community momentum to better follow up on those, to try and reduce the rate of a second occurrence. There's not, the police department can only do so much with what we have, and we can do more with more, but also at the same point in time, there are things that we can do currently that I think would ease perhaps things with the police department and make our response to community equally as efficient. So yes, I'd like to expand on that later, because I'm being not asked that question. I'm sure that I have things, and I don't want to miss an opportunity by answering any more specifically. Thank you.
Anything else? Now, committee reports.
Whom is not here? We haven't met since the last meeting, though. Our meeting's what, next week?
We just had a council meeting last week and we haven't met since then, so.
Put them on there, just if there's anything that needs to come out. Yeah.
Development, which I missed the fact that it changed, so I didn't make it to the meeting yesterday.
Had me worried, Peter, because everybody's like, you never miss a meeting.
For next week.
Well,
It's the same Tuesday, except when February comes along and messes up the schedule.
commission meeting too, but that wasn't much.
You're actually making Nicole very nervous. We got nothing new.
Public safety, you have anything to add to the chief's?
Have a meeting on Thursday. We meet Monday.
Hey, shade tree.
Nothing to
Nicole, your report?
The only thing I want to bring up again is the agenda. Obviously, you're going to see a lot more onto it due to the August passing of the new sunshine. And I think the solicitor can go more into that detail, but we need to make the agendas more transparent. And even though there's things on here, we don't have to discuss them. We could just move on and say there's no discussion. But in case we do discuss something, we need to have it on the agenda. So when we are putting the agendas out, if there's something that you guys want on the agendas for council and the work sessions, please get a hold of Kyle and I will make sure it's on there. Yeah, last Thursday, I got appointed to the Indiana County Solid Waste Authority. I did attend my first meeting there. Kyle did update the website with the last couple years of the committee meetings now are also on our website. So.
Question, I apologize. I guess maybe Gerald actually, it was a public works question. I apologize. I know I asked a lot of questions. Just a quick question with the things like, for example, I don't know why they're stuck in my head, but like Chief Sheldon mentioned traffic accidents. Well, obviously not every traffic accident has anything to do with the police department. So I guess it made me wonder if we have inclement weather statistics versus, and how would you gauge that? And I guess a little bit my question is, are we letting Public Works put enough salt down? Are we, the budget and all those sorts of questions? Maybe I can ask you later about it.
So from Public Works, from the Public Works Committee, I don't think can't say that we specifically start with safety data, crash data. That would definitely start out of Chief Shaw's office and Deputy Public Safety, and it would end up with Public Works. And if there's a concern like that, it's a good question. Yeah.
Feedback that they're getting, they don't necessarily know at Public Works if they're putting down enough salt, those sorts of things. Anyway, I apologize. I don't need to take the time up right now. We can talk about it.
So just very briefly, there's a network. So if a police officer determines that there's a deteriorating road condition, they contact either 911 or Public Works Director Paul Gellis directly. And then our position has always been, this is Public Works expertise in this area. We're just notifying in the middle of the night or off hours when there's traffic deteriorating. It's an interesting question about, we do list crash factors at the police department, but I don't know that that information is translating. For instance, if there was a momentary issue on the road that created a slide that created an accident, I don't know if our officers would communicate that post-mortem, so to speak, to Public Works, but certainly would be valid to, I think, probably collect that data more accurately. I don't know that anything could pop into mind. Sometimes we have missing road signs, missing directional signs that create factors and negative issues in the borough. But yeah, as far as weather-related, if a weather-related crash happened, we would immediately reach out to Public Works Director to rectify the situation. But as far as relaying statistics after the fact, probably not.
Okay.
For damage of if somebody hits like the decorative poles, if it was due to weather or something, which we've had a lot lately.
Anything else for the chief? Moving on then. Mr. Solicitor, do you have anything to report tonight?
Since last week, we've just still been working. Stephanie and I have been going back and forth on that one matter. I hope to have that taken care of this week. I provided an update. I got an update on the LERTA recommendation, provided that to Councilman Ford and to Stephanie Dunlap with some language that the county requested. So hopefully that'll be ready for review at our next meeting. But otherwise, things are moving forward.
Sunshine law, so anything that's going to be on the agenda needs to be on the official agenda
Should be, yes.
before. And there's a timeline. Is that 3 days beforehand? Is that right?
Hours.
One of the official, is that?
Plus, my understanding is you can make a motion to add to the agenda prior to the meeting.
How would you make that motion?
Well, when I ask for additions to the agenda, that's.
Oh,
the time to
there.
do it.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can do it there.
Well, that's still an option. Okay. That's-
It
The
improves.
preferred practice is to notify 24 hours in advance to get it put on the published agenda.
But it does preclude what a practice has been here, which has been, you can sort of make a motion in new business that isn't necessarily on the agenda.
So instead of new business, you would bring it up earlier in the meeting, basically.
It's still new business. You may not be able to take action on it.
It's saying in that link that you can't take action on it.
Can't take action, but somebody could bring something up. You just can't vote on it or take action.
Great. And does that also apply to committee meetings? That's my question.
I believe committee meetings, yes, because you're subject to sunshine.
Great. Bike ped also?
I'm sorry.
Bike ped committee too? I mean, I show up for those meetings and have ideas.
Tell them ahead of time.
How do you know what ideas?
In your heads, right?
Well, and in discussion. Build ideas.
Everyone complains that the government moves so slowly already.
It's actually, we're a little bit behind on it because it went into effect in August. Yeah.
We're in the midst of a new manager. Half the council was leaving. It was.
Greater transparency, you
Yeah,
know.
but you would think that seminar
I
would have
think
been
they
updated if
did
it
with
was.
the sunshine laws, I think.
The section you sent out, Kyle, talks about decisions or something, right? I forget the wording it used, but it implied to me that things we voted on. Yeah, actions. And so I guess my question is, can we, it didn't say deliberate. Like, so I guess I guess I'm looking at the nuance of like, if G has thoughts, can G bring up his thoughts as long as we don't act upon them?
Actually, I was explaining this to Nicole earlier. I wish I kind of sent more things to you guys. So if we take that PML snippet that I sent you, if you clicked on it and then you've got this sort of gist of it, and then you clicked on read more, it would take you to the sort of, an attorney's page. You know, how there's a lot of law firms that will elaborate on kind of explain the details of the law. Now, also included in there is the full text of the actual Senate bill that is amending it. And in that Senate bill is where it specifies, even if there's just going to be deliberation on a topic, it needs to be included in the agenda that is published. And this is for municipalities that have, I can't remember the exact word they use, but basically a functioning website where the members of the public can access the meeting before. And we fall under that category. So if, for example, if during community development's report, if somebody asked about Dunkin' Donuts and the committee, then the council deliberated about Dunkin' Donuts, that would need to be on the agenda at somewhere.
There's going to be deliberation on it.
I think,
Content of that deliberation doesn't need to be on there because
but having it on there lets the public, yes, having it on the agenda lets the public know that the matter might be discussed at the meeting. And that's kind of that's the broad kind of change to the sunshine law that went to effect in August that needs to be on there. So.
If, for example, under new business, somebody had something that they wanted to bring forward, I believe they could bring that forward so that the idea is made public. I would not advise you to deliberate or vote on that. I would, but I think it's fair to say,
assign it to a committee.
Absolutely. I believe so.
So signing committee is not necessarily an official action.
I would say that does not violate sunshine because you're not taking official action other than assigning something to the committee. Because otherwise, like you said, maybe we're sitting here having this meeting and something comes up. Well, we have to wait till the next meeting to call Nicole or call Kyle and say, hey, put this on the agenda. Whereas you could bring it up and the president could assign it to a committee. That's my opinion.
That's what I'm saying.
Being a little bit more transparent, but I think under new business, like, this is what work session's for, to bring up.
I think that's great practice for us to be voting on random stuff. I think it's good practice to have it on the agenda and really have it long consideration.
Yeah, but I don't think it's the intent is to stop the flow of ideas. I don't think that's the intent. The intent is to make sure that the public is aware of what you're doing.
Having the topics that might come up on the agenda so that the public can see what's liable to come up. If somebody has an opinion of their own and wants to participate in public comment, then this is a heads up to them that this is the venue to do it in. And I think that's very positive.
I think you're right. I also think that I've been asked questions 3 hours before the meeting to bring to someone's attention, and it seems like that might be more challenging.
I disagree. I think you're able to bring that to the table and then, but you can't take action. I mean, he can say, hey, that's something for public works, or that's something for the public safety, or that's something for community development. Then now it's on everybody's radar. So now maybe next meeting you make it an actionable item, or you make it a discussion topic, or so forth. Yeah, the point is not to dampen discussion. The point is to make your discussion transparent so that the community knows. So.
Anything else for the solicitor? Okay. It's only been a week since our last meeting and I haven't done anything very presidential, but I received a letter from the district attorney addressed to the entire council that I'm going to share with you. Concerning an ordinance, it doesn't say and, it just says ordinance decriminalizing marijuana in Indiana Borough. Dear council, I am aware of a January 18th, 2022 request Borough Council has made of Attorney Doherty to draft a proposed ordinance that would create a non-traffic infraction for the possession of a small amount of marijuana and the possession of related drug paraphernalia. The local news reported that the purpose of such an ordinance would be to reduce the impact on residents having misdemeanors, being supervised by our probation department, serving prison time, paying massive fines, reducing the engagement in our criminal justice system, and to reduce penalties for medicinal use of marijuana, as well as recreational use of marijuana. That's one sentence. Since January 18th, 2022, I have reached out to many members of our criminal justice system and could not find any contact by the Indiana Borough Council to the stakeholders in our criminal justice system prior to requesting such an ordinance be drafted. As the chief law enforcement officer in the county, I believe that it is incumbent on Borough Council to take time before enacting such an ordinance to consider all of the collateral consequences. I am available to discuss this with the Borough Council at a time convenient for us. Please contact my office, etc. And he sent a copy to Chief Shaw.
He doesn't enumerate the collateral consequences.
I read you everything except the phone number.
That'd be helpful. But I mean, that would have been helpful.
We could request.
Like I would like, I mean, that would be, yeah. I mean, can we invite him? I'm just, I mean, if we're, because that's a, I mean, I say I bullshit for a living. And I'm not saying that's bullshit, but it doesn't have any, it doesn't have any. Yeah, I know. I mean, you were better at than I am. But I guess can we invite him? Because I'd be curious to hear what those are, rather than just have it hanging out there as.
I had the impression that maybe by asking the solicitor to draft an ordinance before we've actually discussed things, maybe we took a step too far, because we haven't actually discussed. We don't know what it is that we're really proposing yet. We have this general notion of decriminalizing the use of a small amount of marijuana. We don't have by whom that is, whether that's people of all ages or just people over a certain age. We looked at some other ordinances that other communities have done, all of which have these carve-outs in them. And I'm sure the solicitor is being guided in his deliberations by what other municipalities have done. So this Borough Council is jumping on bandwagon, let's say, decriminalize marijuana, period. It's a much more nuanced thing than that.
As well, I think it would be very important to talk to him
Sure.
in the process of or drafting an ordinance or solicitor. I think inviting him to have a feedback on it, I think is a great idea.
Coming through community development, is that my understanding?
We had last time, right? That was because it wasn't going to come through public safety.
For him to come, because
I'm not comfortable with, community development will bring this to council and let council deliberate on it, but I'm not, I told Chief this last night at our meeting. I'm not really interested in community development being the gatekeeper on this, because it doesn't
develop a community.
And so I'd rather have someone who has an opinion talk to everyone. I think that's important.
Should we invite the district attorney to address the council at our next work session, for example?
Sure. Why not? One who reached out to us in this particular moment.
And the only reason I ask is,
We're talking with our police chief. I mean, you said law enforcement. Chief Shaw is about as much law enforcement as we have in the borough.
I did take it upon myself because there was some backlash and some questions, some positive support, obviously. I spoke to 5 local law enforcement and the chief. I spoke to 3 state police, 1 district attorney, 2 drug and alcohol rehab facilities that are local in our community, 2 judges, but they cannot go on record, 2 physicians, including pediatrics, recovering addicts, okay? Teachers, 10 of them, variety of ages, school board members and the superintendent. I've asked and conferred with them, to weigh in on these ideas. How does it affect our community? 4 IRMC employees, 3 EMTs, medics, 10 members of the community, just random people, some IUP students, And that was interesting and mixed. That was very diversified. 4 human resource employees stating that, for drug testing and random things, that it's going to affect them. 3 family court representatives. And, I have personal family members, that have weighed in on the situation as well. So there is definitely a lot of people that are interested in hearing more about it and giving their opinion.
And with the superintendent of schools and members of, one of my impressions from all the conversations I've had is that most people are totally misinformed about what we're proposing.
Yeah.
And so to garner opinions without having something more solid in the way of a proposal to offer is not fair unless we have questions.
I mean, to be honest, I think we're misinformed. I don't know. What are we proposing? You know what I mean? That's what I think that's the crux of the problem, right? Yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly.
Do we have a timeline? I don't know how this works, honestly.
I have, no, I mean, I have something drafted based on pieces of other ordinances that other municipalities have done. Then my intent was that it would be provided to the council through whichever mechanism. It was my understanding, community development, but if that's not where it's gonna go, that's fine. But we can get it to council for you to, because it hasn't been advertised yet. I mean, we haven't done anything. We need, input. I agree that you need, I would have community input, I would have council's input. I didn't put any fine structure in because I don't know what you want. I mean, I don't know if you know what you want. I think we need to discuss that if this is something that you want to do, but absolutely, I think the more people, the more stakeholders you have, the better. Because as you said, people are misinformed. I chuckle when I hear the human resources people making these comments. Well, if I'm a CDL truck driver, I know darn well I can't go smoke weed. I don't care if it's decriminalized or if it's not. I can't do it because I'm going to put my profession at risk. If I'm a police officer subject to drug testing, you can decriminalize it all day long. If I know I'm subject to a drug test, I'm going to make the choice. Now, this is, everybody has to make their own choices, but I'm going to choose not to smoke marijuana, whether it's legal or not. I mean, and we're not talking about legalizing it. We're talking about, lowering the penalties is my understanding of what has been requested of me. So that's why I'm interested in all the different opinions, because no matter what, there are professions that this will just not apply to. And I don't think anybody was talking about having children going out and, and getting high. I mean, that's not the intent of what this is, in my opinion. So I don't think it impacts the drug-free school zones. I don't think it impacts the parks and those type of drug-free zones.
That was very clear. Sorry. And go ahead.
I wanted to say, you started with the letter from the DA, and marijuana decriminalization is under old business to talk about later in the agenda. Should we continue this discussion now or push it off to old business? Because it's on the agenda later. Sorry.
Right, we're to the letter, but when we get to a broader discussion, perhaps we should wait until it's.
But certainly to finish, just really quickly to finish my point. There is a lot of unknown as to what this body wants. And I'm sure that, there's 12 individuals on this council. You might have 12 different opinions as to what is wanted. And that's, that's always the risk when you open, you may get 100 people here that want to discuss this, which that's wonderful. So then, as a council, do you consider possibly having, hey, let's have a public hearing on this. Let's invite the community in. Let's hear from these individuals that, you're gonna have some very, like we had last meeting, some very strong opinions on both sides. And,
I just think it's key to get something in writing that we can all discuss the actual thing. So that's why I haven't been going out in the community, because there's nothing to present. It's just an idea, and then people have misconceptions about what the idea is. Just like when we tried to get chickens in the borough the first time around, it was the end of the world. And we had so many people concerned about, like, there was gonna be flocks of chickens. I had the Humane Society calling me about, like, they don't want to be in charge of collecting all these chickens that the college students are gonna have. So I just feel like feels very similar, because there was nothing written down yet. People had a lot of opinions about chickens and these, Sarah and I were on the committee.
ordinances, they come through a committee process, and that's where they kind of get tweaked and chiseled and, back and forth. And then I don't want to say a finished product, as we know with many things that we do, but at least a working product can then be presented and you vote to advertise it. And even during the advertisement process, you can make changes and tweaks if you don't like to do it, but you can.
So do we have a time? So I guess, because I think it would be useful to hear from our DA. And Chief Shaw is going around speaking to the committee, so the committees are going to have some information from there in the next couple of weeks. But because I agree, it's almost impossible to talk about this in the abstract. And so do you have a sense, Pat, of when?
I have a draft, but for the fine structure.
So is it possible for maybe in the next community development meeting, we don't have an ordinance written, but maybe there's sort of these broader categories that you can sort of help put us together, help us structure that conversation, like looking at sort of literature, looking at what other municipalities our size might have done, and maybe taking some feedback, maybe from what you anticipate. Here is kind of a structure that might be able to be, and here's where you as council need to start the conversation, because I don't think we're at a spot to talk about a particular ordinance, but we need something in between there, like here are the big issues, and I think we need a little guidance there to say, here they are, and maybe that's hosted at community development, maybe that's hosted at a work session.
Again, I would be happier, because every time community development brings something, it gets sort of manhandled when it gets to council, not every time, but often. And this one is, I'm frankly ambivalent about this. And so I would mind having a work session rather than, or if folks want to come to community development and have a conversation there, I think that's good. But I can't speak for the rest of community development, but I don't think the three of us necessarily should be the ones sort of drafting this work session, or if folks can actively come to a community development meeting. But yeah, something, I just want to basically move the process to where we have at least a straw man to work with, as opposed to just hearsay and everything else. I think it'll just be smoother.
So what's the best thing for, so you usually come to our work sessions anyway, and if we ask you to come to community development,
I'll come to whatever you need me to come to, but
right on the, so you're already on the, I mean, I'm just,
I'm
trying
already
to,
here.
exactly, you're already here. I'm
And
trying to be
we know-
delicately telling you, we don't really want to pay that much extra. I'm trying
Well,
to
you're not
avoid
gonna
that.
pay extra whether I come.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how you work. Okay. Okay, all right. Okay, then in that
We
case.
can do it however you'd like. I think what I'm hearing though is this is such a big issue. I think you may all want to be
But that's
included.
why I was thinking
Work session.
because we're all here.
Aren't Zoom, those aren't on Zoom, so the work sessions are open to more.
Our next work session, do we have something scheduled for that, or? So, I mean,
Is ARP funding coming?
Committees this month, and we're bringing that to the committees.
All right, well, then I will contact the district attorney and see if he's available, because he might not be available for that meeting.
If we're gonna do a work session, are we ready for him? Because honestly, we have, like, I think she phrased it well, we have an idea, right? Somebody brought up a question. And that's really, except for what Pat's already worked on, all we have.
The fee structure for the point structure.
I have a draft.
Okay.
I have a
draft,
draft
and that's-
ordinance.
That's all, I mean, we wouldn't expect to find it finished.
Absolutely not yet.
If you think that's what we need.
But we could,
Yeah.
you know, it's something that we could, it's a springboard to start from that we can add, subtract.
Will you be able to get that to us before the next work session so we can review it? We can start looking at it?
Draft. We can put that in their council packet, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the work session. So, yeah.
And perhaps
Let's go out Friday prior to the, so you'll,
Before
The
that.
sooner the better. I mean, we can start looking at it.
Tuesday.
I can email it to council whenever you want. I mean, normally that's our protocol, but, you know, one of your council members already has it. So, I mean, the initial draft is prepared,
That might be
so.
real helpful, actually, since the Chief Shaw is coming to committee meetings to talk about it. It might be really helpful to have some paper to, so again, to structure our conversation around something.
All right, so I can get that sent out to everybody. Chief, I'll make sure you get a copy as well, so you've seen it. Is he on our, okay. All right, sure the mayor gets it as well.
We're gonna ask the district attorney to come as well on the next meeting.
Work session.
Maybe ask somebody else to come that I might think have a valid opinion, maybe give some information to the board. I know a public defender that might have something to input, might be valuable information. And I think if anybody else has anybody that bring a friend, an expert in the field, maybe, you know, we can get some more information.
So just for clarity, when are we gonna get a copy of the ordinance?
Friday.
Before that.
Needs to be kept in mind that the
Session.
would be charged with enforcing the ordinance is the borough police. State police do
Right.
not enforce local ordinances.
So I think that's the good point that Chief Shaw is bringing to all the committees, and he will report on how it's gonna go up against.
Don't normally take questions from public. We have our period when we have public participation with that.
I'm trying to read that password.
You did have a question, I think.
It's not a question.
Well,
it's a
yeah.
request. There's a couple of things I'd love to get a copy of after the meeting. One is the DA's letter, and one councilwoman is that list of all the people you talked to. If you don't have any names down, I don't want names.
Nope, I don't have names on this.
That's fine, not names, that's all. What you read.
Right. At the end of the meeting, we can,
Guest. 80 Water Guest.
Yeah, like
Water Street. Yeah. Lowercase.
Not on 80, we're on 80 North 8th,
yeah.
but neither here nor there.
We-
A report. Question for me?
Gonna say. I've been out meeting with a number of different organizations and acting as the ambassador kind of guy. And last week I was with the chief and I went down and met with Mr. Struzzi, White Township supervisors, and obviously with Citizens Ambulance. And we'll continue to get out and meet with different folks and get their opinions on things and come back and report that to here. Because I think that's what I should do. So that's what I'm doing. Mhm.
Now, this is old business, and we have a number of issues, which we know that we're all,
Reappointment. Do we want to start that with admin? Does anybody recommend, like,
we're,
we're gonna start putting that on the admin agenda then, moving forward. Reappointment that has come up numerous times. So I just want to make sure, so that's gonna go to admin then. Okay.
And there's the LERTA, which was alluded to earlier. Do you have anything we, as a council, need to do about it right now?
No, I don't. There's, we're working, they talked to the county and they're working on a couple of details because we have to sort of make sure that it reports to the county properly. So once those things are worked out, it'll come to, the full thing will come to council for a vote.
I think if all the committees now looked at it.
Yeah, the only thing we're gonna take back to Public Works, because for sewage maintenance, we're gonna discuss that. And then it will be ready by the March 8th meeting once they make their decision. So
The ARP,
just to update that it's starting at every committee, and we're coming to each committee with about 3 ideas, and staff would like to see you prioritize that list, and we'll just continue with the list. And we started with community development last night, so.
and is there anything new on the Dunkin' Donuts front?
No, other than, I know we talked about it, it's on the agenda for Public Works, and I believe it's going to be on the admin agenda also, so.
You talked the marijuana decriminalization.
Just reiterate, if you don't mind, when I did speak to people, I told them to become involved, encourage them to find out what is entailed or what will be entailed, because that's the only way they're going to be able to have a better thought and opinion and support perhaps. So I didn't just go out and randomly say stuff. I just said, because I was asked by many people, how did this happen? I said, well, then you need to get involved. You need to get involved. There's, things are changing.
Is there any new business to come before the council?
Question for this before I realized we should have added it earlier. And it may not be anything might already be taken care of. With John Scherf retiring, does the council offer some level of recognition for a retiring police officer? I know the police department does, but does the town in general? I mean, 25.
Public safety meeting, there was a.
Okay, they did.
This week?
No.
Or they will.
We already did.
Okay.
One hasn't happened.
Thursday.
Right. It's on Thursday. And the whole council is always invited to this
Oh, I'm
meeting.
sorry. I know there was gonna be a little ceremony, but do we give them a letter? Do we have a surprise? Is there something that he get?
Bunch of
So,
presents for him.
from the police department's perspective, we'll do an honoring of the officer. I don't know if that's what you're asking though. Yeah.
I mean, 25 years of service to a community is a lot. I didn't know if he got a letter, a plaque, do we give him I don't know. I don't know what happens normally. I've never been involved. So I'm asking if there was a standard that. And you gentlemen at the police department and ladies at the police department would provide in that instance, or does that come from the council? Or how does that work?
Everything
Okay.
comes from the council.
Comes from me and the police department. I don't know that we've ever delineated, this is a shadow box from council. It's a police department recognition. Yeah.
I've never been a council member when someone retired, so I'm just asking what.
Recognize accomplishments that are worthy, including that 25-year career. As far as council goes, I've never as a chief been bestowed something from council and asked to relay it in my 3 years, if that gets to your point, so.
Yeah.
Just thanking him. I don't know. I mean, when I left the service, that letter from the command, it's still something I have. You know what I mean? I mean,
I think
even,
that's a really nice idea, but there is the possibility of having someone that works within the local government slip through the cracks, and then we've given something to this guy, but not something to that lady, and you know what I mean?
I
And if
would,
they already have a system that works, do we
well, it's
need?
not instead of, it's also.
They're going to present at the public safety meeting, right? Are you going to present him the plaque? So you're all invited to attend.
But that's not.
I mean, we can. If you want to, we can present something from the bar, like a letter.
Proposing is a simple thank you for 25 years of service to this community. I don't think that's a lot, and it's a piece of paper, right? And now, I don't know the standard procedure, so I'm not trying to buck the trend here,
But there's no reason why we shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
although I don't know if it's enough time.
We don't have to vote. You could just write a letter.
I could write a letter as president on behalf of the council thanking him. But if I'm going to do it, this then has to become part of a standard routine from here on out.
And it's just police officers, because we have people retiring all the time.
About
We had a
25.
lot, we had a lot in the last,
About 25 years and above. Yeah.
The mayor is above the police department, not council. I mean, we can write it, so it's getting, it should be the mayor.
Still write a thing. We can still write a thing.
I guess.
I like that idea.
I'll pick up a card, you guys all sign it.
I think that'd be fine.
Thank you, Madam Manager.
Done. Who retires that works for the borough. I don't think that's that much. But I already said it would.
Retired after 25 years. I didn't even get it.
Well, recognition would be nice, that's all. I mean,
Okay, is there any new business to come before us? Seeing none. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Are you at